As the sun shadow descended through lavender-hued clouds, the crew gazed in wonder at the floating islands, colossal earthen masses drifting majestically like weightless continents. Some soared so high they vanished into swirling mists, while others hovered near the treetops of a vast jungle below, a glimmering sea of green. In the fading evening light, Elias watched the planet's surface come into sharper focus, unveiling vibrant patches of vegetation interspersed with lakes that caught the rays of the setting sun. The landing thrusters roared, shaking the craft as it finally touched down upon a relatively flat stretch of terrain at the jungle's edge. Commander Ren surveyed the ship's instruments, verifying environmental stability. Breathable air. Gravity just a fraction lower than Earth's. The possibility of advanced civilizations lurking amid the floating islands, still unconfirmed by Earth's limited probes, now seemed high. Once the door slid open, Elias stepped out alongside a small team, including 2 security officers and a drone operator. All wore protective gear resembling partial exoskeletons, suits that could protect them from unforeseen environmental hazards, equipped with advanced scanning capabilities. A warm breeze, scented with sweet alien pollen, brushed across Elias's face. Bioluminescent petals drifted in the air like lazy fireflies, painting the dusk with a gentle radiance. Commander Ren took the lead, her sidearm holstered, but her posture coiled in readiness. "Check in every 15 minutes, she instructed. "Remember, if it seems too quiet, it probably is." Elias crouched by a patch of glowing ferns, enthralled. Through his visor's readout, he saw that the plants emitted a faint electromagnetic field, stable and consistent. He touched a slender leaf gently, marveling at its pulsing glow. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he whispered. "Wonderful, yes," muttered Lieutenant Hawthorne, a stocky security officer standing behind him. "But keep your eyes open, Doc. We don't know what else is out here." A call came through their comms, a discovery a few yards to the northwest. "Dr. Varen," barked the drone operator, "you might want to take a look at this." Approaching the designated site, Elias came upon a large monolith of smoothly carved stone rising from the shimmering undergrowth. Its sides were etched with intricate swirling lines that glowed faintly with the same bioluminescent hue as the flora. These glyphs curved and spiraled in mesmerizing patterns that seemed to tell an ancient tale. Without a doubt, it was evidence of an intelligent species, far older than anything on Earth. Stunned, Elias removed a small scanning device, capturing every detail. From the corner of his eye, he noticed Commander Ren's stern features soften. She, too, was overwhelmed by this discovery. Only her unwavering sense of duty kept her from succumbing fully to awe. "Commander," Elias said, breathless, "this is beyond my wildest imagination. It's incredible." "Yes," Ren agreed, her tone more measured, "which means we have to be extra careful." In that moment, as though summoned by the quiet reverence in the air, a faint rush of wind swept through the clearing. A shape, tall and luminous with feathered appendages, descended from one of the nearby floating islands. More figures, graceful and winged, followed. They moved through the air as if it were their birthright, creatures both humanoid and angelic in their bearing. Their eyes glowed in the twilight, keen and observant. Elias's heart skipped a beat as he watched them alight. Their forms were elegant, their wings flowing with opalescent hues that shimmered like a million fractal feathers. Each bore regal facial features, elongated limbs, and, upon their foreheads, curious, luminous sigils that pulsed with the same glow as the carved monolith. One among them stepped forward, a being of profound presence. She, if that label could be applied, had large, silver wings traced with filaments of gold. Her dark hair flowed behind her, and her golden-ringed eyes reflected quiet intelligence. Her voice, when it came, resonated like the hush of wind chimes in a summer breeze. "Strangers from beyond the stars," she said, words in a softly musical dialect. "We welcome you to Xyphera." The startled team exchanged glances. The universal translator took a moment to adjust, rendering her greeting in Earth Standard. Elias, swallowing both wonder and caution, took a step forward. "Greetings," he said politely. "My name is Dr. Elias Varen. We come in peace." The angelic being regarded him thoughtfully, then offered a faint smile, an oddly human gesture. "I am Lyara," she announced, turning her glowing gaze on him. You step upon the threshold of our domain, Dr. Varen. I pray your intentions are as pure as your words. A wave of tension passed among the human explorers. Yet in Elias's chest, a burgeoning warmth began to glow, a sense of connection he had rarely experienced, as though he were gazing not at a stranger of an alien species, but at a mirror reflecting forgotten dreams. That fateful first encounter set the gears of destiny in motion, unveiling a cosmic prophecy that would overshadow all rational thought, threaten to dislodge the careful boundary between science and faith, and bind two beings, two worlds, in an alliance whose consequences none could yet fathom. Elias found himself kneeling beside a cluster of glowing vines, just outside the Sunshadow's makeshift perimeter. The leaves of these vines spiraled in delicate fractals, and each soft brush against them elicited a gentle chime, as if the plants sang in response to touch. Science demanded a sample, yet his heart, throbbing with excitement and reverence for this world, made him hesitate. Part of him worried about damaging something sacred. He checked over his shoulder. Commander Ren and the security detail were engaged in negotiations of a sort with Lyara and her companions, carefully exchanging gestures and words in an attempt to establish a modicum of trust. Lyara's graceful presence dominated the clearing. Tall as any human, yet winged and undeniably otherworldly, she spoke with a certain confidence, occasionally casting a curious glance in Elias's direction. Between the floating land masses overhead, days slowly shifted toward a twilight realm. Streams of cosmic dust, cast in the light of Xyphera's 3 moons, glimmered like silver paths in the atmosphere. One by one, the members of Lyara's group began to sing, soft, harmonic notes that reverberated through the trees. The forest responded in kind, leaves fluttering, luminescent spores drifting upward like miniature stars. "All right," Commander Ren's voice came over the calm. "They've invited us to follow them to a safer place for the night. It seems they sense some danger in the jungle after dark." Lieutenant Hawthorne, adjusting his vest, snorted. "Danger? That's reassuring." Elias approached the group, scanning Lyara's expression. She seemed calm, unthreatening. Yet an unspoken tension hung in the air. These were winged beings who had lived and thrived upon Xyphera. Their knowledge of the planet's perils, he surmised, was vast, though they chose not to articulate it plainly. Instead, it was shown in their cautious eyes, the subtle shift of their wings whenever shadows lengthened. Lyara addressed the humans. "If you walk with us now, we can guide you to a sanctuary. The night skies can be unpredictable." An eerie cry echoed across the treetops, as though a distant creature voiced its lament. Commander Ren exchanged a look with her team, then nodded. "We accept your protection." Forming a makeshift caravan, the humans trudged through the bioluminescent undergrowth while the winged Xypherans floated gracefully alongside, their wing beats an ethereal chorus. Beams from the humans' helmet lamps intertwined with the forest's own glow, weaving ribbons of shifting light. Elias struggled to keep pace, his scientific equipment weighing him down, but his fascination fueled him, spurring him onward. Every so often, he caught Lyara's gaze upon him. Unnerved and oddly comforted, he wondered if perhaps they shared a mutual curiosity. The path led them to a soaring cliff where a section of rock jutted outward, forming a natural ledge. Above, one of the smaller floating islands hovered mere yards away, connected to the cliff by a narrow, vine-draped bridge. It rippled gently in the breeze, as though waves of some gravitational anomaly kept it tethered but not fixed. Lyara paused. Without words, she spread her gleaming wings, stepped onto the vine bridge, and beckoned for Elias to follow. The look in her eyes said, "Trust me." Commander Ren tapped Elias on the shoulder. "You heard her. Let's see where this leads, though I don't like the look of that bridge." Gingerly, Elias placed his foot on the vines. They seemed to hum beneath him, clinging to his boots with unexpected firmness. He inhaled. Step by step, he crossed to the floating island, flanked by Lyara's companion, another winged figure with pale lavender plumage, who guided him across in case he stumbled. When he arrived at the island, Elias nearly lost his breath. A small settlement nestled among trees with spiraling trunks and crystalline leaves. Perched along the edges of the island were open structures made from interwoven vines and carved stones. The glow of Xyphera's flora illuminated these dwellings, creating a tranquil aura. It was a kind of floating village, suspended hundreds of feet above the ground. At the center, a grand structure rose, adorned with crystalline arches and carefully placed runes that shimmered in the evening light. The entire settlement radiated a gentle welcome. Other winged Xypherans emerged from their homes, peering at the human visitors with curious, unafraid eyes. Lyara guided them into a communal space, where a fire-like luminescent swirl flickered at the center of a polished stone floor. She gestured for them to sit. In a melodic voice, she said, "We will share food and stories, so that our hearts may meet before we rest." A few moments later, vessels made of woven reeds were presented, filled with what appeared to be colorful fruits and vibrant, petal-like leaves. The humans exchanged cautious glances, testing each new item with their scanners before daring to taste. Gradually, a sense of relief spread among them. Everything tested safe. Elias savored the fruit. It tasted faintly of citrus, with a burst of something akin to sweet berries. As he ate, he let his gaze wander across the circle of winged hosts. Their features bore subtle differences. Some had longer horns that curved elegantly back. Others had wings tinted in unique color gradients. Each face reflected a serene dignity, and a certain quiet unity bound them together. At length, Commander Ren, stiff in posture but cordial, addressed Lyara. "We appreciate your kindness. We come to learn about your world and to share knowledge of ours. But we also have duties. We can't remain away from our ship for too long." Lyara listened, her golden eyes thoughtful. At close range, Elias noticed faint lines on her cheeks, markings that flickered with an inner glow whenever she spoke. "Your vessel," she said, "will be protected, for we are watchers of the threshold. We saw your descent through the atmosphere, and we sense a purpose in your coming." The cryptic tone of her words stirred something in Elias's mind. He turned the small translator embedded in his collar to a specialized mode, hoping to pick up nuance. "What do you mean, watchers of the threshold?" he asked gently. Lyara inclined her head. "We guard the balance. Long ago, Xyphera seas and skies were thrown into chaos by forces we did not fully understand. Our ancestors prayed for guidance, believing the cosmos would answer. Over time, a prophecy emerged that when a wanderer from the stars arrives, a union shall be forged that will bind two peoples in harmony, giving birth to a vessel of luminous power, an egg of celestial promise." Elias felt his blood run cold at the mention of prophecy. Ancient beliefs often had potent sway, sometimes with real consequences. "That's quite a story," he murmured, torn between professional skepticism and personal intrigue. Commander Ren merely raised an eyebrow. She had been on enough missions to hear countless legends. Yet something about this place and these beings felt different. Lyara continued, "We do not claim to know the face of destiny, but we have watched the stars for many ages, and we recognized your approach. We sense that among your number stands the key to fulfilling our ancient promise." Her gaze fell upon Elias, lingering with a gentle intensity. He could almost feel an electric charge dancing in the space between them. Struggling not to betray his sudden rush of adrenaline, he cleared his throat, then tried to maintain composure. An older Xypheran, white-haired and regal, joined the conversation. "We need not hurry fate," he said, voice calm. "But we must not ignore the signs. Let us share the night in peace and see what tomorrow brings. The forest of Xyphera can reveal truths hidden from even the brightest minds, given time and reverence." And so, beneath the shimmering leaves and the brilliance of 3 moons, humans and Xypherans broke bread together, forging a fragile bond born of curiosity and necessity. Unbeknownst to Elias, a grand design was already weaving itself around him, a pattern older than any star chart, a prophecy waiting to unfurl in brilliant wings across the cosmic stage. Morning on Xyphera arrived as a gradual unveiling of light. One by one, the floating islands emerged from the mists, their suspended waterfalls catching the sunlight and refracting it in dazzling sprays of color. Bird-like creatures soared among the cliffs, their cries echoing through crystalline canyons. The entire sky seemed alive, dancing in a cosmic ballet between land, cloud, and starlit horizon. Elias awoke in a woven hammock near the settlement's edge, momentarily disoriented. He'd spent most of the night discussing Xyphera's biology and culture with Lyara, gleaning only glimpses of their deep traditions. She, in turn, had asked him about Earth, how it orbited a single sun, how humankind had left the cradle of their planet to explore the vastness beyond. Exhausted, Elias had finally dozed off under the watchful glow of the Xypheran night. At daybreak, Lyara found him alone by the cliff, where he was examining the swirling vortex of energy that kept this island afloat. Invisible to the naked eye, the phenomenon was partially revealed by the scientific instruments in his suit. Our ancestors referred to it as the breath of the goddess, she remarked softly. Scientists among our kind have attempted to study its properties, but it defies simple explanation. We only know that it resonates with the energy of life, binding the earth to the sky. Elias looked up, startled that she had approached so quietly. Her wings made no sound unless she deliberately stirred the air. It's fascinating, he confessed. I've never seen gravitational anomalies like this. Even the advanced instruments we brought might not fully decode it. Lyara smiled, folding her wings around her shoulders like a shawl. Perhaps not all things are meant to be decoded by instruments. Sometimes, it is the interplay of the spirit and the mind that unravels the deeper mysteries. He chuckled. You sound like a philosopher or a priestess. She shrugged gracefully. Our roles often intertwine on Xyphera. Science, faith, art, these do not live in isolation. They merge, creating the tapestry of who we are. They fell into a companionable silence, gazing at the horizon where other floating islands drifted. In the distance, the jungle below sparkled, as though innumerable gems had been scattered across it. Elias's thoughts turned to the prophecy Lyara had mentioned. A union that would bear a celestial egg? It sounded like legend, yet there was a sincerity in her tone that made him hesitant to dismiss it outright. At last, he asked, Lyara, if you don't mind my curiosity, how do your people view the prophecy? Is it a myth, a metaphor, or something more literal? Her gaze focused on him, momentarily distant, as if she were remembering a half-forgotten dream. For many generations, we have believed in the literal possibility. Our wise elders speak of a time when we once were closer to the cosmic currents. The egg, they say it is not an egg in the conventional sense, but rather a vessel of new life, something that merges our essence with that of another world. Elias's breath caught. And you believe I, or one of the humans, is somehow connected to this prophecy? She studied him with unreadable eyes. Your aura is different. You carry a flame within you that resonates with our own energies. I cannot say for certain that you are the one the prophecy foretells, but the synergy I sense in your presence is strong, Dr. Varen. A shiver coursed through him. This was far beyond any scientific expedition he had ever imagined. Part of him wanted to scoff, label it superstition, and retreat to the safety of known data. Yet a deeper part of his being was intrigued, drawn to the idea that the universe held hidden designs that transcended mere coincidence. They turned to see Commander Ren approaching, face set in her usual serious lines. Doctor, if you're ready, we should head to the lower levels of the forest and do more surveying. Some of the Xypherans have agreed to be our guides. Elias nodded, grateful to break the tension. Lead the way, Commander. Lyara accompanied them as they crossed the vine bridge back to the solid ground below. The group navigated a winding path, plunging into the jungle's interior. All around them, vibrant life surged in exotic forms. Broadleaf trees that glowed with swirling patterns, flowers that released gentle plumes of shimmering spores, insect-like creatures with crystalline wings that darted from one luminescent bud to another. Two Xypherans led the way, Tereus, with iridescent plumage, and Scylla, whose bright green wings reminded Elias of Earth's hummingbirds. They explained how the forest's ecosystem relied on a delicate equilibrium. The luminous flora drew sustenance from underground aquifers saturated with unusual minerals, while also feeding on cosmic energy diffused from the floating islands. Elias and Commander Ren collected samples, scanning them with portable spectrometers and carefully storing them. Even the seasoned security officers seemed less apprehensive, caught up in the breathtaking biodiversity. At every turn, wonders abounded, from amphibious reptiles with chameleon-like color shifts to spider-like creatures that wove webs of glimmering silk. But amid this paradise, hints of darker secrets lurked. Occasionally, the party stumbled upon a patch of broken vegetation, as though some colossal beast had trampled through. Terius would examine the marks with a serious expression, muttering about a presence called the Night Claw, believed to prowl these parts after sunset. Once, Elias glimpsed a massive paw print in the loamy soil, far too large for any creature he had yet encountered. "Is that why Lyara said the night skies can be unpredictable?" he asked in a hushed tone. Terius nodded. "The Night Claw leaps between islands, hunts in the darkest hours, drawn to the faintest sign of life. Few have seen it and lived to tell the tale, but its roar can freeze the stoutest heart." A chill trickled down Elias's spine. He could almost sense invisible eyes watching from the dense undergrowth. Part of him longed to gather more data, to press deeper into the mysteries of this world. Yet prudence and Commander Ren's stern instructions beckoned him to remain cautious. As the day wore on, they found a clearing with a small waterfall tumbling off the edge of a hovering landmass, forming a misty veil that caught rainbows in its spray. There, the group paused for rest. Lyara crouched by the pool's edge, running her slender fingers through the cool water. Without warning, she turned her eyes on Elias, golden rings shimmering. "The planet welcomes you, Dr. Varen," she said softly, "but it also tests your resolve. For each wonder, there is a challenge. This is the way of Xyphera, and perhaps the way of all things." He knelt beside her, letting the water run over his fingertips. For a moment, he allowed himself to forget the heavy weight of scientific inquiry, the expedition's protocols, even the prophecy that hovered on the edge of his mind. Instead, he surrendered to the planet's sheer wonder, to the luminous tapestry that beckoned him to be more than an observer, to be an integral part of this place's living story. Night fell swiftly upon Xyphera, like a silken curtain laced with stars. Back in the floating settlement, torches fueled by bioluminescent sap illuminated walkways of woven vine. The humans were offered modest shelters near the settlement's outskirts, small huts built from crystalline stones that refracted the moonlight in soft splendor. Elias found no desire to sleep. Instead, he drifted through the settlement, marveling at how the Xypherans conversed in melodic tones while their plumage glowed in subtle rhythms. Every so often, he'd pause to record notes into a handheld device, potential evidence of telepathic or empathic connections, or the possibility that these winged people had harnessed the planet's energies in ways Earth scientists had yet to imagine. He found Lyara standing at the settlement's edge, gazing upon the moonlit jungle far below. She turned as he approached, offering a gentle smile. With a quiet gesture, she beckoned him to a vantage point, where the translucent railing allowed an unobstructed view. The jungle canopy glistened with pulses of light, reminding Elias of oceanic bioluminescence back on Earth. "Your settlement is beautiful at night," he said quietly, trying not to disturb the hush. "We've lived in harmony with these islands for countless generations," she replied. "Their movement is like the rhythm of our blood. We flow with them, protect them, and they shield us from harm." Elias recalled the mention of the Night Claw. "Safer up here than on the ground, I suppose?" She nodded. "Yes, though the danger persists, even in the skies. In the ancient days, we dwelled in even higher altitudes, lost in the swirling clouds. Over time, as the prophecy began to shape our understanding of destiny, we descended, bridging the gap between the sky and the forest floor, forging a balance with the land. We no longer hide entirely from the shadow, nor do we chase the light to the point of ignoring all else." A gust of wind fluttered her wings, and Elias involuntarily reached out, steadying her arm. The soft glow of her feathers bathed his hand in a gentle luminescence, and for an instant, he felt a surge of energy, as though a current of warmth had passed between them. Startled, he pulled back. Yet Lyara placed her other hand on his, a silent reassurance. "Do not fear," she whispered. "We share this energy freely. It is the bond that holds us together, one being to another." His heartbeat quickened, and he found himself at a loss for words. Here, standing on a floating island beneath an alien sky, a part of him felt oddly like he was in a sacred sanctuary. The distance between him and this winged being narrowed, replaced by something akin to kinship. "Lyara," he said softly, "I can't ignore this prophecy you speak of, but is it right, or even fair, for me to consider being part of something I don't fully understand?" Her luminous eyes held him captive. Understanding grows through experience, Dr. Varen. Fate rarely shows itself in complete clarity from the first step. We follow the path, guided by trust and wonder. Let the forest show you the truth. Let the winds of Xyphera carry your doubts away. Behind them, the soft footfalls of Commander Ren approached. She paused, cleared her throat. I hope I'm not interrupting, but we've got movement on the ground. Patrols are picking up signals, some large creatures circling near our landing site. Might be that nightclaw your hosts keep mentioning. Elias tensed. Are the security teams safe? We've doubled the watch at the Sunshadao. The settlement here should be fine, but we can't rule out the chance of an attack. Lyara's expression darkened. We must remain vigilant. The nightclaw hunts by moonlight, and these are nights of triple moons. Commander Ren gave Elias a stern look. Doc, I need you rested and ready by morning. We can't afford to lose you. She then offered a curt nod to Lyara. Thank you for looking after him. With that, the commander departed, leaving Elias and Lyara once more in delicate silence. He could sense tension pooling in the depths of his stomach. Each new revelation, each brush with Xyphera's dangers, heightened the stakes. Still, a gentle warmth lingered on the back of his hand where Lyara had touched him. In that warmth, he felt an odd solace. For reasons beyond logic, he sensed that if a storm was brewing, be it natural or spiritual, he and Lyara would face it together. When he finally retired to his shelter, Elias slept fitfully, haunted by dreams of swirling winds, glowing feathers, and the echo of a distant heartbeat that pulsed in sync with his own. Dawn broke with startling vibrancy. The settlement bustled with activity. Xypherans hurried about, exchanging urgent whispers. Some took flight, skimming low across the treetops to gather news of any nightclaw sightings. The Sunshadao reported sporadic roars reverberating through the forest, but no direct confrontation yet. Elias was seated on a smooth stone bench, nibbling on an alien fruit for breakfast when Terius landed beside him. Dr. Varen, the winged Xypheran said in a rush. Our elders have asked for your presence in the sanctum of Elias. Sanctum of Elias? Elias repeated, blinking. Terius beckoned him to follow, leading him toward the settlement's central structure, the grand edifice with crystalline arches that Elias had admired upon his arrival. This time, the heavy stone doors stood ajar, revealing a softly lit interior. Lyara waited there, along with several older Xypherans, each adorned in feathered mantles and holding staffs carved with swirling glyphs. Stepping inside, Elias felt the air change, heavier, tinged with an unearthly vibration that thrummed beneath his feet. The sanctum's walls were engraved with elaborate scenes of winged figures, floating islands, and celestial bodies. In the center stood a pedestal, atop which rested a glowing orb that emitted a pale, pulsating light. It bathed the chamber in shifting hues, from tranquil blues to gentle golds. We have discussed the patterns of the stars, the stirring of the forest, and the re-emergence of the night claw, intoned an elder with silver plumage. All signs point to the prophecy's threshold being near. Lyara approached Elias. They wished to conduct a communion, a ritual that might reveal the truth about your role in this. He felt a surge of anxiety. A ritual? What does it entail? The elders conferred among themselves. Then the silver-plumed one stepped forward. You will place your hand upon the orb of Elias. It attunes to living energy, allowing us to sense the synergy within your being. If the prophecy is to be fulfilled, the orb shall respond in kind. Elias swallowed hard. He glanced at Lyara, who offered an encouraging nod. Carefully, he approached the pedestal, heart pounding. The orb's swirling glow intensified as he drew nearer. Finally, he extended a trembling hand and laid it gently upon the surface. At once, a sensation like cool water coursed through his palm, up his arm, and into his chest. The orb flared, and images streaked through his mind. He saw storms raging over mountainous islands, Xypherans crying out in both sorrow and hope, and a faint silhouette of a massive creature, eyes burning with primal fury. Then, abruptly, the visions gave way to a gentle radiance, within which he glimpsed the shape of a colossal egg bathed in golden light. Within it, a fusion of energies sparked. As quickly as it began, the visions ended. Elias staggered back, breath heaving. The orb glowed a deep, resonant blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. The Xypheran elders gasped, exchanging quick, reverent glances. "It is decided," said one elder softly. "He bears the resonance." Confusion swam in Elias's mind. "I don't fully understand," he managed. "What does the orb's reaction mean?" Lyara's eyes shone with equal parts wonder and sadness. "It means the prophecy is in motion. You and I must fulfill its call." At that declaration, Elias found himself awash in conflicting emotions. He looked to the elders, half expecting them to demand some archaic sacrifice. But instead, they bowed their heads respectfully, as though paying homage to a grand cosmic design. Before he could speak, the chamber's door opened, and Commander Ren, flanked by 2 security officers, entered with a grim expression. "Doctor, we have an emergency." The Sunshadao picked up seismic readings. Several floating islands near the western horizon are destabilizing. "We suspect major gravitational shifts, maybe a chain reaction that threatens this entire region." One elder hissed in alarm. Another clutched her staff tight, color draining from her luminous feathers. Could it be the Night Claw? Or perhaps the planet stirs in deeper unrest? Lyara's shoulders tensed. The Sanctum's prophecies speak of cataclysms preceding the birth of the celestial egg. This may be only the beginning. Commander Ren looked from Lyara to Elias, then demanded, "What is going on here?" Elias took a moment to steady himself. "Commander, we have reason to believe that a massive shift is happening, tied to an ancient prophecy about this planet. I'm not sure how it all fits together yet, but if the floating islands become unstable, entire ecosystems could collapse. The Xypherans might lose their homes." Ren exhaled sharply. "All right, let's keep it scientific. We'll gather more data. We also need to keep in mind we have limited resources. If the situation gets dire, we'll have to pull out. I won't risk the entire crew." Lyara listened in silence, her expression pained. She turned to Elias and spoke with quiet urgency. "Our legends say that to calm the planet's anguish, the union that births the celestial egg must be completed. It is an event that merges energies, yours and ours. With it, we might restore balance." Commander Ren narrowed her eyes. "What exactly does that mean?" Heat crept into Elias's cheeks. "It suggests a literal union. She believes that if a Xypheran and a human share," he hesitated, words tangling, "intimacy, their combined life force could spark the creation of something that heals or stabilizes the planet's forces, a celestial egg." Ren's jaw clenched in disbelief. "That's quite a tall order, Dr. Varen." Yet the urgency in Lyara's face was undeniable. The elders remained solemn, their wings lowered in supplication. Every second that ticked by weighed heavy with cosmic consequence, or so it felt to Elias. Finally, the silver-plumed elder addressed Commander Ren in a soft, resonant tone. "We do not force your compliance, but the choice must be made swiftly. Xyphera is stirring to a dangerous pitch. The old beasts awaken, the land shudders. Legends speak of only one remedy." Elias shut his eyes. He remembered the surge of energy he'd felt from Lyara, that sense of electrifying warmth. Could there be a scientific explanation behind this union? Some form of resonant field synergy, akin to how their orb read his biosignature? He recalled that some Earth experiments hinted at telepathic or empathic phenomena across certain species. Might the Xypherans be biologically tuned to harness that synergy for reproductive or planetary healing purposes? His mind whirled with half-formed theories, but time was short. Commander Ren's face betrayed conflict. She was torn between safeguarding her crew and acknowledging the catastrophic threat looming over this alien civilization. "Dr. Varen," she said at last, voice low, "if you truly believe in this prophecy, and if there's even a chance it could prevent disaster, then I won't stop you. But I also can't order you to do this. The decision is yours." All eyes turned to Elias. He took a shaky breath, recalling the shimmering forest, the trust in Lyara's gaze, and the sense of destiny thrumming in this place. Despite the impossibility of it all, he felt a flame of conviction take root in his chest. "I'll do it," he said quietly, though his words echoed with an odd courage. "I'll do whatever it takes to help." The sanctum filled with a collective exhalation, as though an immense burden had shifted. Lyara reached for Elias's hand, and he clasped it gently. Their intertwined fingers glowed, reflecting the orb's radiance. Thus was fate sealed, between a human scientist and a winged being of prophecy, in the quiet hush of a sacred hall that bore witness to millennia of cosmic secrets. Outside, the planet stirred in restless slumber, and across the floating islands, the first tremors of upheaval rippled. That evening, dark storm clouds gathered swiftly across the horizon, drawn as though by an invisible hand. Forks of violet lightning streaked through the sky, illuminating the drifting islands in moments of stark brilliance. A fearsome wind howled, buffeting the settlement high above the forest. Despite the danger, the Xypherans prepared the sanctum of Elias for the prophesied union. Soft phosphorescent drapes were hung along the crystalline walls, and an intricate circle of runes was inscribed upon the floor with glowing pigments. The elders stood at strategic points around this circle, humming a low chant that resonated with the orb's pulsating light. Elias felt an undercurrent of trembling nervousness coursing through him, mingled with a strange anticipation. He had never imagined, in all his studies of exobiology, that he would become intimately bound to an alien being, let alone one who claimed that such a union would produce a cosmic egg. Yet here he was, wearing ceremonial garments the Xypherans had given him, a robe woven of luminescent fibers, soft to the touch, faintly crackling with energy. Commander Ren lingered at the sanctum's threshold, her expression a mixture of concern and reluctant admiration. She said nothing, but her eyes conveyed a silent support. Lieutenant Hawthorne stood behind her, looking decidedly uncomfortable as he tried to avoid meeting anyone's gaze. Lyara arrived, radiant in a flowing gown that accentuated her silver and gold wings. Her markings glowed intensely, and her hair, cascading down her back, caught the flickers of lightning from outside. When she and Elias met in the center of the runic circle, a hush descended upon the room. Even the thunder seemed to pause, as if the entire planet held its breath. One of the elders stepped forward, raising his staff. "Behold, the union of starborn and skybound. Let their energies converge, that the prophecy may be fulfilled and Xyphera's heart be soothed." A wave of chanting rose among the gathered Xypherans, harmonizing with the hum of the orb. Lyara touched Elias's cheek tenderly, and he mirrored the gesture. In that moment, all his scientific reservations, all his doubts, fell away like old skin. He beheld not an alien, but a kindred spirit, a luminous soul reaching out to save her people, to save her world, and to stand against fate's looming shadow. They leaned in, foreheads touching, wings slowly enclosing them in a gentle cocoon. A glowing aura flared around them, shifting through colors Elias had no name for. He felt Lyara's breath, warm and trembling, against his lips, and then they kissed, tentatively at first, as if bridging the final gap between two worlds. The chanting around them intensified, rippling with surges of unearthly melody. The air crackled with raw power, arcs of light dancing across the runic circle. The orb of Elias, perched on its pedestal, flared brilliantly, casting shifting shadows around the chamber. In that sacred moment, Elias sensed a profound merging of essences. It was as though their hearts, their minds, and the very energies of their bodies converged in a cosmic dance. Beyond mere passion, it felt like a tapestry woven from starfire and ephemeral moonlight. He glimpsed echoes of Lyara's memories, soaring across dawn skies, laughing with her kin, mourning lost ancestors. Likewise, fragments of his own life flickered across her consciousness. Childhood dreams under Earth's sky, lonely nights in research labs, the quiet yearning for something greater than himself. Their union deepened, transcending physical boundaries. A rush of warmth spread across Elias's torso, intensifying until his entire body pulsed with luminescent radiance. Lyara's feathers sparkled, as though they had captured 1,000 distant suns. There, in the heart of the swirling energies, they shared an intimate crescendo that felt both ancient and newborn. Then, in one blazing burst, the orb sent a spear of light into the center of the circle. Elias felt a momentary sensation of floating, weightless in a void of shimmering colors. He clutched Lyara as though she were an anchor in an endless ocean of starlight. The chanting peaked, voices rising in unison, until silence. The light dimmed, returning to the gentle glow of the orb. Panting, Elias found himself on his knees, arms around Lyara. Sweat beaded on his brow, though it glowed faintly with the energy that still coursed through him. He became aware of the hush in the sanctum, everyone staring in awe. In front of them, where the orb's beam had struck the floor, a radiant shape began to form. Pale gold at first, it solidified into a gleaming shell about the size of a large melon, etched with swirling patterns. The egg pulsed faintly, emitting a gentle warmth, as though alive with something indescribable. A collective gasp rose. The celestial egg had materialized, tangible proof that the prophecy was no mere myth. Elias felt tears spring to his eyes, and he glanced at Lyara. Her expression shone with gratitude and reverence. Together, they reached for the egg, each resting a hand upon its glowing surface. The moment their hands made contact, a low rumble shook the sanctum. Panicked, the elders looked around, fearing an earthquake. Commander Ren stepped forward, hand on her weapon. But instead of destruction, a wave of calming energy radiated outward from the egg. The tremors subsided, the storm winds outside stilled. The celestial egg's glow brightened, then faded to a gentle ember. Its calming aura lingered, spreading across the settlement, then drifting beyond, into the forest, up the floating islands, and through the very air itself. One by one, the Xypherans bowed their heads in respect and relief. Elias cradled the egg in his arms, feeling it pulse like a living heart. He wondered if it held a new life, part human, part Xypheran, or if it was a purely cosmic creation. Either way, it emanated a peace so profound he could scarcely breathe. That night, the storms broke apart, revealing a canopy of brilliant stars. The catastrophic gravitational shifts halted, and across the planet, delicate equilibrium seemed to resettle. In the hush that followed, Lyara clung to Elias's side. Together, they gazed upon the egg, both awestruck and humbled, realizing that their union had become the catalyst for something far greater than themselves, an event that might heal the fractures of an alien world, forging a bridge between two species. In the days that followed, the Sunshadow's crew fanned out to assess the impact of the union's aftermath. Seismic sensors showed a drastic reduction in geologic unrest, and the floating islands regained their steady hover. The planet's unusual electromagnetic fields, once in flux, stabilized. Word spread quickly among the Xypheran settlements. This celestial egg was the very emblem of renewed harmony, a living beacon of hope. While many Xypherans hailed Elias as a prophet, he was more comfortable dissecting scientific data than accepting praise. He spent countless hours analyzing the egg's energy signatures, collecting readings that showed a complex interplay of quantum fields. Every test revealed something extraordinary. The egg resonated not only with Xyphera's natural frequencies, but also with human biosignals, bridging two distinct spectrums into one harmonious whole. Lyara joined him often, observing the instruments with gentle curiosity. "I'm not sure your machines can capture the essence of it," she would say, smiling. "Some things remain beyond calculation." He would smile back, conceding that she might be right. But the scientist in him persisted, determined to glean every insight possible. Commander Ren, meanwhile, faced the challenge of reporting the events back to Earth. "This is going to be hard to explain to Central Command," she muttered, scanning the data logs. "They'll demand some rational explanation, some proof that you haven't been taken in by superstition." Elias sighed. "The proof is right here. The planet stabilized when the egg appeared. Our sensors show it, the local flora shows it. Even the storms receded." Ren pinched the bridge of her nose. "Yes, but that proof leads to bigger questions. If you're truly the father, does that mean a half-human, half-Xypheran being is developing within that egg?" At that notion, Elias felt a shiver of excitement and responsibility. He looked at the egg, cradled in a specially designed cradle that maintained a stable environment. "Honestly, I don't know what's inside there. But from all indications, it's something alive. Something new." Lyara's golden eyes shone with unwavering conviction. "In our legends, the celestial egg hatches not in the manner of birds or reptiles, but through cosmic alignment. It will open when the time is right, revealing the form best suited to unite our peoples." Commander Ren gave a slow nod, though her skepticism lingered. "Well, for now, we'll keep it safe." Over the next weeks, as the expedition and the Xypherans learned from each other, a grand celebration was planned, a festival of unity, to honor the newly formed bond and the planet's restored balance. The floating settlement bustled with activity. Torches were lit, music composed, and caravans of winged visitors arrived from distant islands to witness the miracle. Amid the preparations, Elias and Lyara found quiet moments together. She showed him hidden waterfalls and sacred groves on nearby floating isles. He, in turn, shared Earth lullabies and stories of how humans once looked up at the stars with longing, not unlike how the Xypherans gazed upon drifting islands. Through these exchanges, their connection blossomed, rooted in mutual discovery and gentle affection. All the while, the celestial egg remained in the sanctum, quietly pulsing with growing energy. Each day, it glowed a bit brighter, and each day, an aura of calm emanated further across the land. Wildlife flourished, and even rumors of the Nightclaw attack waned. Terius noted that the beast's roars had ceased, as if it, too, was subdued by the newfound harmony. As the festival day approached, Elias found himself wrestling with deeper questions. Could a single cosmic event truly unify two species so vastly different? What would happen when the egg hatched, if it indeed hatched? And how could he reconcile the wonder he felt in his heart with the methodical nature of science he had always adhered to? In a rare moment of introspection, he confided in Lyara, "I've spent my life studying alien biology, always searching for rational explanations. Now, I'm part of something that seems so beyond that. Yet I can't deny what I've seen, what I've felt." Lyara stroked his hair, her silver feathers shimmering. "Elias, the universe is vast, and no single lens can capture its entire truth. Science illuminates certain paths, faith lights others. Here, on Xyphera, they intertwine like the roots of a tree, sustaining each other." He squeezed her hand, a sense of peace settling over him. Perhaps it was time to let the boundaries of science expand, to embrace the possibility that the cosmos was woven of threads both measurable and ineffable. The day of celebration dawned under a sky free of storms, the sunlight reflecting off the floating islands in brilliant cascades of color. Garlands of luminescent flowers were draped throughout the settlement, and melodic chimes hung from every arch and rooftop. Xypherans from near and far gathered, their wings creating a kaleidoscope of hues. Music drifted through the air, a serene chorus of voices accompanied by instruments carved from crystal and wood. A central stage was erected on a wide platform at the settlement's highest point, where the egg had been moved for the festivities. Elias stood beside Lyara, wearing traditional Xypheran attire that bore symbols representing both the swirling islands and the star from which humanity had come. Commander Ren and a contingent of humans wore simpler versions of the same, signifying unity. The festival opened with a solemn ritual performed by the elders. They chanted prayers in the ancient Xypheran tongue, invoking the blessings of the cosmos upon this new alliance. The orb from the sanctum was placed before the egg, its glow synchronized with the egg's pulsing aura. After the prayers, a procession of dancers took the stage. Their movements imitated the flight of birds, and the drifting of floating owls' feathers of every color shimmered in the sunlight. The air vibrated with joy, with a sense of hope that transcended words. Elias watched in awe, heart swelling at the beauty unfolding before him. For the first time, he felt not like an outsider, but like a genuine part of Xyphera's tapestry. When the dancers finished, the crowd parted to allow Elias and Lyara to approach the egg. Curiosity rippled through the assembled throng. Would the egg display any sign of hatching? Rumors circulated that the energies unleashed by the festival might trigger its emergence. With solemn care, Elias laid a hand on the shell, feeling its steady heartbeat. Lyara did the same. A hush fell over the multitude. Slowly, the egg brightened, bathing their hands in a golden glow that expanded outwards until it enveloped both of them. Soft murmurs and gasps spread through the crowd. Yet, after that initial surge, the glow receded back into the egg, settling to its usual gentle pulse. No cracks appeared, no flutter of movement inside. In place of disappointment, Elias sensed acceptance. The elders had said it would hatch when the time was right. Perhaps that time was not yet at hand. Commander Ren, stepping forward, delivered a speech on behalf of humankind. She spoke of unity, of the shared quest for knowledge and peace, and of her vow to protect Xyphera from any who would exploit its wonders. Her words, translated into the Xypheran tongue by a specialized device, were met with applause as the watchers recognized her sincerity. Lyara then spoke, addressing both Xypherans and humans, her voice carrying a quiet authority. Let this day mark not just an alliance of expedience, but the birth of a new family. The celestial egg is our promise, a testament to what we can achieve together. May we nurture it with compassion as it nurtures our world in return. Elias stepped forward, clearing his throat. I know many of you see me as fulfilling a prophecy, but please remember, I am just a man who yearned to explore the universe. The wonders of Xyphera welcomed me, and my heart opened to the beauty of this world and to Lyara. I believe that in forging connections beyond logic, we discover the deepest truths. Thank you for embracing me as one of your own. A wave of warm applause greeted his words. The festival continued into the afternoon, with feasting, music, and symbolic ceremonies that merged human traditions, like the sharing of stories around a communal fire, with Xypheran blessings bestowed by flight dances performed high in the air. Late in the day, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, a hush settled over the crowd. Lyara raised her arms, wings fanning out behind her. In a single graceful motion, she took flight, circling above in a display of aerial artistry. Soon, other winged dancers joined her, painting a mosaic across the sky. Their harmonious movements seemed to resonate with the drifting islands, as if calling them to dance as well. Elias watched from a platform, mesmerized by Lyara's radiant presence. Commander Ren stood beside him, arms folded, but her expression lighter than usual. You've done something incredible here, she said softly. I've witnessed countless missions. Few have ended with such hope. He nodded. It's not all me. This place that changes you. Ren gave him a rare smile, then gestured toward the swirling dancers. They want you to join them. Indeed, Lyara was swooping low, beckoning with an outstretched hand. Elias felt a momentary trepidation. He had no wings, after all. But the Xypherans were prepared. Two of them swooped down with a harness-like contraption designed to hold him aloft between them. He laughed in astonishment as they hooked him into the device, lifting him into the air. Adrenaline surged through him, but he trusted them. He soared with Lyara, suspended in the harness, guided by the strong beats of the Xypheran's wings. The setting sun cast its warm glow across them, painting their flight in a palette of pink and gold. Below, the crowd cheered, and the sound of wind rushed past Elias's ears. For a glorious moment, he felt utterly free, weightless in the arms of a planet that had accepted him as part of its living story. They circled a final time before gently landing back on the platform. Lyara unhooked him, her cheeks flushed with exhilaration. She leaned in close. You see, we are truly one now, human and Xypheran, skybound and starborn. Elias felt his heart brim with a swelling love, not only for her, but for the entire tapestry of life that surrounded them. In that instant, he knew that no matter how Central Command on Earth might interpret his report, he had found something here too precious to dismiss, an unforgettable tapestry woven of faith, science, and the boundless capacity for wonder. In the weeks following the festival, peace reigned over Xyphera. The gravitational fields remained stable, the planet's storms stayed mild, and wildlife flourished in the revitalized ecosystem. Elias and Lyara grew even closer, tending to the celestial egg, which remained in the sanctum, glowing steadily. Meanwhile, humans and Xypherans collaborated on projects that benefited both. The Sunshadow's crew helped the winged people develop more robust communication networks between distant settlements, while Xypherans offered insights into advanced organic engineering, like living bridges grown from specialized vines. A sense of unity blossomed, dispelling old suspicions. Yet not all was idyllic. One night, a sudden alarm rippled through the settlement. The watchers stationed on a nearby floating island spotted a hulking shape prowling the forest floor, illuminated only by faint starlight. A massive, four-legged beast with wicked claws and a pair of horn-like structures on its head. Its roar echoed off the cliffs, sending the watchers into near panic. The Nightclaw, Terius gasped, landing on the platform near Elias. It returns, and in an aggressive stance. We have no idea why. Commander Ren rapidly organized a defensive perimeter. No matter how big it is, it won't get the jump on us. We have drones and heavy stun weapons at the ready. Lyara, however, appeared troubled. If the egg brought balance, why does the Nightclaw rage? The prophecy spoke of healing, not further violence. Elias gripped her shoulder, calming her tremble. Perhaps the beast senses a shift in the planet's energies. Maybe it's driven by primal instincts we don't understand. We'll do what we must to protect everyone. At Ren's command, reconnaissance drones were dispatched, scanning the thick undergrowth. The creature's shape emerged on thermal imaging, an enormous predator with retractable wings. It moved with unsettling agility, occasionally leaping onto lower islands with strong hind legs, trailing deep gashes in the earth. Then, without warning, it let out a monstrous howl, spitting a barrage of luminescent acid that corroded rock and vegetation alike. The watchers recoiled in horror. This was no ordinary animal. It was a being capable of channeling some of the same energies that kept the islands afloat. Elias felt his heartbeat hammering. We have to keep it from scaling to higher islands. It could reach the settlement. Ren barked orders. A volley of stun pulses fired from the drones, lighting the night sky with sparks of blue. The Nightclaw roared, battered by the energy blasts, yet it persisted, bounding away into shadow. Tense hours passed as they tracked its movements, but it seemed the beast was retreating for the moment, wounded but far from defeated. When dawn arrived, the watchers reported that the Nightclaw had vanished into a labyrinthine network of ravines. Elias joined a briefing with Commander Ren and the Xypheran elders. We have to consider that the egg's presence might be provoking this creature, Elias suggested. It could be drawn to the energy or threatened by it. The silver-plumed elder let out a weary sigh. In our oldest legends, the Nightclaw is a guardian of untamed energies, an agent of primal chaos. Its presence ensures that no power grows too dominant. If the celestial egg embodies order and harmony, the Nightclaw might sense a threat to the ancient balance. Terius frowned. So it seeks to destroy the egg? Lyara's expression hardened. We must protect it at all costs. If the egg is destroyed, the planet may spiral back into chaos. Commander Ren nodded. We'll form a defensive plan. We have advanced tech, and you have flight capabilities. We can keep watch from above. Let's ensure the beast has no chance to strike. Underneath all the hurried plans, Elias felt a twinge of sorrow. He didn't want to kill the creature. It was part of Xyphera's intricate design. But if it threatened the egg, the very future of both species, could they afford mercy? That night, a vigilant watch was posted around the sanctum. Xypheran patrols soared overhead, while Earth drones scanned for any sign of the Nightclaw. Elias stood guard with Lyara, the egg resting in a secure cradle nearby. Its glow provided a comforting light against the starry darkness. I can feel it, Lyara whispered, her wings twitching, a tension in the planet's pulse. The Nightclaw is near, lurking at the edges of our awareness. Elias gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. If it comes, we'll be ready. Hours stretched on with nerve-wracking stillness. Eventually, soft footsteps approached, Commander Ren, checking on them. Everything seems quiet, she reported. No sightings. Maybe we scared it off. As if in cruel response, a thunderous roar erupted from below the settlement. A shape materialized in the gloom, scaling the vine bridge with alarming speed. At once, alarms sounded, and defenders rushed to their positions. The Nightclaw burst into view, eyes glowing with feral fury, claws dripping with corrosive energy. It reared on its hind legs, bellowing a challenge that chilled Elias to the core. Xypheran warriors swooped in, firing arrows imbued with light. Stun drones zapped it from multiple angles. Still, the beast charged forward, unstoppable. In the chaos, Elias clung to the egg, desperate to shield it. Lyara grabbed a staff from a nearby stand, her face set with fierce determination. With a graceful dive, she soared at the Nightclaw's flank, striking at its haunches in hopes of driving it back. The creature lashed out, acid spraying across the platform, sizzling through wood and stone. Commander Ren directed her team to flank the creature, releasing a barrage of energy blasts. The Nightclaw shuddered, howling, but pressed onward, smashing through barricades, inching closer to Elias and the egg. Time seemed to slow. The beast reared again, preparing to lunge. Elias locked eyes with it, seeing not just rage but a primal terror in its gaze. For a split second, he wondered if there was another way, some means to quell it without violence. But the moment passed. Ren shouted, "Fire!" A wave of potent stun beams slammed into the Nightclaw's chest. It roared in agony, collapsing to one knee. Lyara swooped down, delivering a final strike with her glowing staff, aimed at the creature's skull. With a guttural moan, it toppled, its massive form crashing onto the platform, shuddering violently. Elias rushed forward, ignoring Ren's call to stay back. The Nightclaw's breathing was ragged. Acidic saliva bubbled from its jaws, scorching the ground. Its eyes flickered, then fixed on Elias, as though challenging him to witness its last moments. Gently, Elias placed a hand on the creature's flank. Beneath the thick, matted fur, he felt trembling muscles, hot blood. The beast gave a weak snarl, then exhaled a final breath. Its body went still, the flicker of life extinguished. An eerie hush followed. Xypherans and humans alike stood, stunned by the magnitude of what had transpired. The planet's ancient terror lay dead, felled in a desperate bid to save the celestial egg. A low wail rose among the Xypherans, not of triumph, but of mournful respect. They recognized the Nightclaw as part of the living tapestry of Xyphera, even if it had been their mortal foe. Elias bent his head, heart heavy. In the silence, the egg glowed faintly, as if acknowledging the sacrifice. With the beast gone, perhaps the cosmic order could stabilize fully, and the new era of unity would be free of this ancient conflict. Yet in Elias's mind, a question lingered. Had they done the right thing, or had they shattered an irreplaceable guardian of chaos, altering Xyphera's future in ways they could not predict? Weeks stretched into months. The body of the Nightclaw was ceremoniously laid to rest in a remote clearing, with both Xypherans and humans honoring the beast in a funeral rite. Lyara had insisted that they offer it the respect due a creature of grandeur, despite its final rampage. With the threat removed, peace and stability returned to Xyphera, and the floating islands drifted without turbulence in clear, untroubled skies. During this time, the celestial egg's glow intensified day by day. Elders noted that its pulses seemed synchronized with the planet's subtle vibrations. In times of high solar activity, the egg's color would shift to vibrant crimson. Under cool starlight, it radiated soft blues and purples. Everywhere, signs of regeneration flourished, fields bearing abundant harvests, animals wandering freely without fear, new streams forming where once land lay dry. Commander Ren coordinated with Earth's Central Command, carefully transmitting her official reports. Though she faced initial disbelief and skepticism, especially regarding the prophecy and the celestial egg, her data on planetary stabilization and the Xypheran's advanced organic technology quelled many doubts. Eventually, Earth agreed to open diplomatic relations with Xyphera, marking the dawn of interplanetary friendship. As for Elias and Lyara, their bond only grew stronger. Freed from immediate crises, they spent time exploring the farthest reaches of the planet. On clear mornings, they soared through the sky in a specially designed harness, guided by Lyara's powerful wings, visiting distant Xypheran settlements that welcomed them with awe. Even Commander Ren sometimes joined them, her stoicism melting in the face of such wondrous flight. One balmy afternoon, as Elias and Lyara wandered through a meadow of luminescent flowers near the base of a smaller floating isle, the celestial egg began to vibrate in the cradle Elias carried. Their eyes locked in sudden excitement. They hurried back to the sanctum, alerting the elders. Word spread quickly among the settlement: the egg stirs. In the sanctum's heart, the orb of Elias flared brighter than ever. Elders gathered in reverent silence, forming a wide circle around Elias, Lyara, and the egg. Carefully, they placed the egg on a pedestal. Tiny cracks began forming along its golden shell, releasing soft rays of light. A hush fell upon all present. Slowly, delicately, the shell peeled away, fragments dissolving into motes of shimmering dust. Within the radiant core stood a small figure, no more than a toddler in size. It had a vaguely humanoid form, legs, arms, a face. Yet it also bore delicate, translucent wings that glimmered in prismatic hues. Its eyes opened, revealing glowing irises that seemed a blend of human warmth and Xypheran luminosity. A collective gasp of wonder rippled through the chamber. Elias felt tears at the corners of his eyes. The childlike being blinked, then looked up at its parents. A soft, chiming sound emerged from its throat, a melody of pure innocence. Lyara reached out, voice tremulous with emotion. "Our child," she whispered, drawing the little one into a gentle embrace. Elias joined her, overwhelmed by awe and love. The child's wings fluttered, sending faint pulses of energy through the air, like the quiet echo of cosmic waves. In that instant, it was as if a wave of warmth permeated the sanctum, radiating outward across Xyphera. The elders knelt, tears on their cheeks. Commander Ren, standing at the threshold, allowed her features a rare, unguarded smile. Terius and other onlookers wept openly, recognizing this moment as the culmination of their ancient prophecy, yet also the start of something entirely new. The child cooed, reaching a small hand toward the orb of Elias. The orb responded by glowing in vibrant patterns, as though greeting a long-awaited friend. A hush of reverent joy swept the chamber, every heart brimming with a single truth. They were witnesses to a miracle of cosmic synergy, a living symbol that the bonds of faith and science, of two species once separated by the void, had finally merged. Days passed, filled with celebration and tender care for the newborn. Experts from the Sunshadao offered medical exams, confirming the child's remarkable physiology, part human, part Xypheran, stable and thriving. From the Xypheran side, wise elders blessed the child with gifts of cultural heritage, naming it Aelion, a fusion of Elias and an ancient term meaning hope. With Aelion's birth, new horizons opened. Xyphera's people welcomed the idea of limited human settlement, encouraging an exchange of culture and knowledge. In return, Earth offered to share technology that respected the planet's delicate balance. Trade routes were planned, and the possibility of a permanent diplomatic station was proposed. Elias, at the heart of all this, felt a serene joy he had never known. He and Lyara established a home in the floating settlement, an open terrace that overlooked the sprawling jungles below, where Aelion could grow up understanding both the boundless sky of Xyphera and the storied stars of Earth. Nights were spent singing lullabies in two languages, Earth's and Xyphera's, bridging the gap of worlds. One luminous evening, Elias found himself gazing at the distant sparkle of the Sunshadao, still orbiting overhead. Lyara stood beside him, their child cradled in her arms. As Aelion stirred, tiny wings shimmering in the moonlight, Elias gently stroked the child's cheek, marveling at the warmth of that small smile. Together, they turned their eyes toward the endless expanse of sky. Though storms might come in the future and challenges arise, both practical and philosophical, the bond they had forged would stand firm. For in one night, across the threshold of two species, a celestial egg had been conceived, hatching a life that embodied hope for both Xypherans and humans. A rush of gratitude welled up within Elias's chest. He recalled how, not so long ago, he was a solitary xenobiologist gazing out a ship's window at a planet of floating islands. Now, he stood on that same world, a father, a friend, and a bridge between civilizations. He looked at Lyara, who returned his gaze with unspoken devotion, and then they both gazed upon Aelion, the miracle child of prophecy and love. Softly, Elias murmured, "We did it. We've found our place in this vast universe." Lyara nodded, tears of joy beating on her lashes. Her wings gently unfurled, catching the silver glow of Xyphera's moons. Then, together, they let the hush of night envelop them, lulled by the quiet pulse of a planet at peace. Beyond the horizon, stars shimmered with silent applause, and far away on Earth, a new chapter of interstellar cooperation began. Indeed, theirs was a story of wonder and destiny, proving that across light years and lifetimes, hope finds a way to flourish, and that, sometimes, a single night shared between two hearts can forever reshape the cosmos for the better.